In what would normally be good news for almost anybody that loves video games, Ubisoft talks about perhaps remaking some of their classics, specifically Assassin's Creed. The question is it something that, we would want? Maybe, but it seems like there might be some other things that come along with it. Want to find out what we're talking about? Well, stick around. That game plays. Hi, folks. It's CC here again at That Game Place, along with my friend Nolan Thunder. Nolan, how's it going, buddy?
It's going epic. I'm ready for a great night, and I'm hoping we're going to hear some great news of games everybody's excited for.
Well, maybe, but what I'm looking at right now is an announcement coming to us from Ubisoft CEO talking about Assassin's Creed. Now, I did you ever play Assassin's Creed? Was it one of your favorite? Do you like those games?
I have not been a Ubisoft player over the years. They consistently do things that make me mad, and I don't want to play their games outside of Rayman. Like, a lot of their games have just been so kind of lackluster. And I was kind of intrigued by Assassin's Creed a bit over the years, but I know it got the reputation of just basically being like Madden. It's like, oh, it's this year's Assassin's Creed. And it's like, if you're just going to pump out games constantly, what's even the point? Because you know it's going to be more of a corporate product than a love letter to the fans, you know?
Well, in this case, it may be a good time to either invest in or maybe stay away from Assassin's Creed. And let's jump right into the story. So it looks like Ubisoft CEO is announcing that Assassin's Creed remakes are on the horizon, saying the company will modernize them. That always bothers me. What do you think about modernizing things, Nolan?
What does that word mean? Because consistently, it seems like that word usually means we're going to make a lot of people upset, including the people we're trying to pander to.
Exactly. So let's move into the story. It seems like Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot announced that the company will be remaking a number of its older Assassin's Creed titles. I cannot wait for Desmond to get ruined, let me tell you. Not only will they be remaking them, but they will be modernizing them too. Ooh, that's a shame.
Modernize.
So there was an interview that was posted to Ubisoft website where Guillemot was asked, one of Assassin's on the Assassin's Creed front, we've had Mirage, which is a leaner homage to the series' roots, and now Shadows, which is a much larger in scope and more in the vein of Odyssey and Valhalla, which means a big open world sandbox, right? So, looking at the future, can we expect this continued variety? Smaller games alongside bigger ones? And he responded, firstly, players can be excited about some remakes, which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernize them. There are worlds in some of our older Assassin's Creed games that are still extremely rich, and all of that is 100% true. They left a lot of history untouched, and they left even the history that they played within, well, also largely untouched. There were definitely some more adventures for Desmond's ancestors, and we certainly didn't get a deep enough dive into any of those. Plus, I really enjoyed Desmond as the behind the scenes protagonist who was playing as these characters in these different time periods in the Animus. Now, I agree here. There's a lot of room there. But to answer your second question, he added, there will be plenty of experience variety. The goal is to have Assassin's Creed games come out more regularly. Now, Nolan, if I told you that this is a statement that's been made many times over the course of the last couple of decades, and yet we still end up with some games like a glut and then all of a sudden nothing, would that surprise you?
No, not really, because like this series, it's always surprised me to the amount, even with the sales figures, which I was reviewing a bit before we started this. I don't really think Assassin's Creed is like that big cultural impact that Ubisoft seems to think it is. Like, I think most gamers at least have heard of Ezio, but comparing this to, other major like blockbuster franchises like Mario, Madden, Grand Theft Auto, like, I think Assassin's Creed has enough consistency over time to where it's like they're having enough money coming in to fit the bill. They usually put out Ubisoft will honestly usually put out quality Assassin's Creed games, but just this whole like we're gonna have a big game, we're gonna have a small game, we're gonna explode and make it huge for everybody. I just don't see, is anyone outside the Ubisoft bubble really that hyped for Assassin's Creed and this kind of news?
Well, That's a good question. I think that the people who are really invested in these games, and mind you, that pool of people has dwindled over the years because of some repetitive mechanics that they seem to get entrenched in. I would say that they do have a substantial player base that they can draw from. They've been trying to get people interested in Assassin's Creed Hex for a long time, and they are again here in this article pushing it. So if you're looking for this article, check it out on that Park Place. This is an interesting one. Now, I
Agreed.
guess I guess all the way back in 2022 at with an interview on VGC, Hex will provide a different experience in terms of game and game structure that will eventually come out as we reveal more. According to a rumor from Bloomberg, the game is set during the later stages of the Holy Roman Empire, which is revolving around the witch trials. So now they're going to tie some of these supernatural elements into some of these regular
Hmm.
religious things and
I'm
stuff like
intrigued.
that.
I'm intrigued by that.
Now, it's interesting that Ubisoft might delve into other genres, but it's quite concerning that Guillemot detailed that he plans on modernizing a number of older Assassin's Creed games via remakes.
No,
Now,
no, no.
well, yes, yes, yes. I mean, we may not want that, but that's what they're certainly going to do. And when you talk about that, you think back on the first two characters, Altair, who was the first assassin that I think Desmond played, and then the second one, which was Ezio Auditore, right? And that's
Ezio.
yeah, Ezio's my favorite ever
Agreed.
hero in this game in Assassin's Creed. I think he was very, very good. But yeah, Ubisoft is one of the wokest video game developers out there. There's no argument about that. The company has an entire section of their website titled Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. Underneath this section, the company's VP of Global Diversity Inclusion, Rashi Sika, writes, to create a video game, Ubisoft's teams around the world work together to push the boundaries of what's been done before and build an unforgettable experience for players. The journey from concept to launch requires collaboration, passion, and commitment. We learn as we go and trying and failing and trying again before we get it right. All of that sounds normal, right? I mean, that's what you do when you're doing any kind of development on something creative like that. So he continues, or the page continues. That same creativity, growth mindset, and dedication form the foundation of our approach to diversity and inclusion. To truly have an impact, we must leverage innovative ideas and diverse perspectives to continue building a company and an industry that is welcoming to all. Our vision of diversity and inclusion is multidimensional. That's why we've designed a strategy centered around four pillars: colleagues, culture, content, and community. Well, they're putting it at the heart of everything if you continue to read on.
Can
But
I point out? Go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead, please.
Oh no, I just wanted to point out how they're talking about the concepts, of like where they want to go with the series and such, in the future and such. And you know, the big deal will be like, like they're talking about what can we do to take our older products and reimagine them for modernizes. In other words, we're gonna make changes, you're gonna have to deal with it before we even know, hey, what games are they even remaking? What are they remaking? Is this going to be on a physical cartridge or disc? Like that one dude, I can't remember what position he was, but he was a pretty high ranking guy, was basically saying gamers need to get used to not owning their stuff. We don't even know if this is going to be a live service game or if this is going to be on a cartridge or what. But what we do know is diversity. That's not the
Well,
first thing you talk about when doing a game. That should just already be a given.
Well, and I think that you're about to get your question answered here because their colleagues section indicates that they hire people based on race. So they're already doing something that here in the United States is incredibly illegal. That area reads,
Oof.
we want to build the most creative, inclusive, and diverse teams across all fields. We will continue to increase representation in our company by building more inclusion across our systems and ensuring equal access to opportunities for everyone. Now, I understand that having an equal opportunity hiring and promotion and everything that's the law here in, the United States of America. But
Yes.
the problem is giving everybody equal access to something uh, sounds fine, but does that mean that people without the merit to do a job are going to be elevated based on some kind of an inclusion metric? And if so, that's going to be a problem. But
Oh,
anyway,
fair.
yeah, in their culture section, they read, "We will keep fostering a culture of inclusion where our teams feel seen, heard, and valued. To support this, we will empower global and local employee resource groups." So these are the compliance police to make sure that you are racist enough to enforce racist policies like that. And I'm saying it that way intentionally. And it's probably not great for the logarithm here, but it's honesty. So moving on, I guess there was a document leaked to the quartering that all of a sudden made it to everybody's attention. And
Oh
I'll
boy.
read it. Yeah, I'll read it. It says, "First, we want to make it very clear that we do not accept hate, harassment, or other forms of abuse in any way." That sounds good. "And we are deeply saddened to see the negativity and hatred currently spreading on our coworkers' personnel files and on our partners' social media platforms." Okay, Nolan, what do you think that hate is exactly?
Well, this looks so familiar. I feel like this is the response I always see every time the developers attack gamers and then proceed to get backlash and then they play on the defense. I guess hate would refer to not agreeing with a certain viewpoint that might not reflect the broader sphere, if you get what I mean here.
Understood. Yeah, so it says we are proud to represent diversity and inclusion that exists in society as part of our everyday work. Representation is part of our DNA and will remain that way regardless of external pressure or influences. Now,
And
what that reads like to me, Nolan, and let me see if you can agree, but to me, that reads that even if the gamers don't want it, even if as a business it's not successful, or if somebody comes in and says what you're doing is illegal, we're going to continue to do it anyway.
I agree. I agree 100%. It just sounds like too bad. And you know, the people that are in, you know, these spheres of various different backgrounds, both sexuality, race, whatever have you, there's plenty of people that love games and stuff, but I'm not seeing a groundbreaking game like you could say like Super Mario Brothers or Legend of Zelda or anything outside of, or the Batman Arkham games before Kill the Justice League. Those games were already there and they appealed to everybody no matter what your background was. What I'm seeing here is corporate inclusion, to where this is what HR says is the big inclusive thing. And if you don't agree with our direction, we're going to yell at you on X. And then next thing you know, our game does not sell. And it's just a constant circle. It's like a hamster wheel. Ubisoft is a hamster wheel.
Yeah, so they've created a circular feedback loop that is always going to cause them an issue when it comes to, well, these types of things. Perhaps, at least that's my takeaway from what you said. The biggest worry to me, Nolan, and I'm not sure if anybody else will agree, but the biggest worry to me is that they're going to take games that I loved, like the first three games especially, right, all the way actually up to Black Flag, which was the pirate game. I would say those were the best that Ubisoft ever had to offer. And they're going to take those games and force some other stuff into them. Now, I'm going to say it this way: Assassin's Creed was always multicultural. How do I know that? Because they told you that at the very beginning of the game, because they didn't want to be attacked, because they didn't want people to have the perception that they were being Islamophobic. So goes back very early into their history, specifically with this game. So, how much more will they put in there? Are they going to put people from all over the globe that wouldn't naturally be in the Middle East
And
in
isn't
that
that,
time frame?
sorry to interrupt, but wouldn't that
Yeah.
also possibly be seen as maybe kind of a insult to the culture too, in a way? Because then you're making some, if you're putting people that would not have normally been there in that time period, you're kind of taking away from that culture, no matter what color, you know, or background, whatever. You're kind of perverting the background and the backstory to it. And it's cool sometimes when you kind of takes a few liberties, you know, for kind of the fun value things. But when you're actually presenting it as, especially in like these major news pieces where it's like, guys, look how progressive and diverse we are. But when you're showing an inaccurate background, you're actually insulting those that you're supposed to show these cultures to people. That's completely the reverse of what you're going for. It
And
makes
especially
nobody happy.
Yeah, and especially in a game like this, Nolan, where again it's supposed to be representing a actual historical period where actual people existed and they have historical backgrounds of them. So it
Yes.
would be a little problematic. But look, we've talked enough about this. We want to know what you think. Do you think that the ability for game companies to go back in time and remake games, do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that they should modernize those games when they, move along the way? Or should they stick with what the common sensibility is of that time and even now for the most part and leave the game alone and just make it more attractive? Your thoughts are important to us, so let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below. As always, thanks for hanging out with us on That Game Place, and stick around. We got something else coming right around the corner.